Well, look at the crisis in Cyprus and pity the poor Russian oligarchs who use the country to take the smell off their money. All right, it's not especially easy, but the banking crisis there does raise the intriguing question of what is money. The Oxford English Dictionary defines it as any generally accepted medium of exchange which enables us to trade goods without needing to barter. So far, so obvious, so many euros to the pound or the dollar, but there's an increasing number of people preferring to do business of various levels of legality in something called bitcoins, which you'll never have in your wallet because it's a virtual currency.
Imagine not being able to access your own money or being told how much you could withdraw from your own savings. You might lose faith in your central bank or even the currency that you have in your pocket. You might even consider storing your wealth in a new virtual currency called a Bitcoin. Certainly that's what's happening in Europe. In recent weeks, Bitcoin has soared from 500th in the app download charts to 52nd, and a Bitcoin has trebled in value since January to £50. Bitcoins are earned online as a reward for solving fiendishly complex computing tasks. Initially, they were given away to people who helped set up the system. But now individuals can also buy them and store them in a virtual wallet. Unlike a normal currency, though, people bypass banks entirely and instead send Bitcoins to each other over the internet. Because Bitcoins are stateless, they cannot be taxed, frozen or easily traced. So the advantages for some are clear.
First of all, because I'm just sending a string of bits to you, it doesn't go through a bank. It doesn't cost anything. There's no fee. I just send you the bits and now they're yours and not mine. The second thing is the near anonymity, which through the use of appropriate technology you can make anonymous. And the third, I think, is the sort of sense that you're not playing by the man's rules.
The key test of any currency is acceptability. Shops in years gone by used to only accept pounds because they knew they could, in theory, swap it for its equivalent in gold at the Bank of England. Things have moved on quite a bit since then. We now have a virtual currency, Bitcoins, which has no link to either the Bank of England or to gold, but it's starting to ever so slightly make its way to the high street. So, for example, you can order a pizza online, pay for it in Bitcoins, and collect in person.
Bitcoin is changing finance the same way the web changed publishing.
The question is, what future could this virtual currency have?
Flourish.
Some experts think that Bitcoin might be just the first stage in a virtual money evolution, a bit like Friends Reunited now being eclipsed by Facebook.
Whether that means in the long run people will use Bitcoins instead of pounds and euros, I'm unconvinced. Whether it means in the long run they'll use something like Bitcoin, I think that's probably true. You know, the new economy needs a new kind of money, just as the industrial economy demanded new kinds of money a few hundred years ago.
But there's a dark side to Bitcoins. Anonymity means they can be used to buy drugs or weapons, and Bitcoin accounts have also been seriously exposed by hackers. No wonder then that US and European authorities want far more regulation. But before that, some disillusioned Eurozone savers may still prefer to risk their money on a virtual rather than a hard currency.
Well, Daniel Knowles has written about Bitcoin for The Economist, and Trace Mayer is in San Diego. He's an entrepreneur and financial blogger who uses Bitcoins. What attracts you to them, Trace Mayer?
What I like about Bitcoins is that they're limited in amount, and with the protocol, you're allowed to send any amount of money to anyone, anywhere in the world at any time, and there's no way for it to be seized or frozen or confiscated in any way. So we're able to use a currency that can't be hyperinflated, and we don't have to worry about bank seizures like what's happening in Cyprus.
But what do you actually use them for?
Well, I use them to pay independent contractors that are all over the world, whether they're in India or the Philippines. I've used them to purchase digital products such as ebooks or MP3 files. I've also used them to order goods from different websites that accept them online. And in other cases, I've traded them for euros or British pounds or dollars when I've been traveling.
Daniel Knowles, it does have many of the characteristics of a proper currency, doesn't it?
Well, what it actually resembles, in fact, what it's designed to resemble, is a sort of virtual gold. And that's why we should be skeptical of it. I mean, I think it does resemble a currency. It's a very interesting thing, but it fluctuates in value all the time. It's designed in a way to be deflationary, and at the moment it's shooting up in price because people are pouring their money, their savings into it because they think it's going to keep going up in price, and that makes it quite unhelpful. You don't want to carry, you don't want a £10 note to carry around in your pocket to double to £20 worth of value one day and then the next day only be worth a fiver. So it's unstable. It's interesting, but I think the gold comparison's interesting. We've kind of moved past using real gold as society, so whether we're going to move back to some virtual gold seems quite...
Well, this is about what you want to use them for, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. The big issue for Bitcoin is whether people are using them as an investment or as a store of value somewhere to save their money, or whether they're using it to actually trade. For a currency to work, people have to be buying and selling things with it, and actually with Bitcoin they are a little bit more. And so, but at the moment you see that there are people flooding it in because they think it's the next big thing, and I think that could actually undermine it. You don't want that.
Trace Mary, are you bothered by its fluctuation in value?
Well, I've been around it for a long time. When I first started publicly recommending it as a blogger, it was around 25 cents US, which was about 10 pence. And now it's, upwards around $80 US. And so I've seen a lot of ups and downs with Bitcoins, and I'm not really too worried about the fluctuations in price, because the price is actually irrelevant to the value it provides in being able to transfer value over distance or over the internet. So whether it's a nickel or whether it's $10,000 or $100,000 a coin, you're still able to transfer value from point A to point B anywhere in the world, all for little or no fees. And that's really the value that it adds. If people want to speculate on the price of it, just like they speculate on the price of dollars or euros or the price of gold, then so be it. But for me, it's mainly the value transfer utility that it adds that I'm most attracted to.
Daniel Knowles, what potential problems are there, given that it is not a national currency and therefore is not at any point backed by a national treasury?
Well, one thing that's quite interesting is that, well, for a start, the transferring thing is an interesting one in the sense that it does mean that there is no way to trace it, or it's very difficult to trace. It makes it quite a natural thing for money laundering. The difficulty, of course, is getting your money, your kind of the money that you want to launder into Bitcoins and then out again. But it's that kind of raises a security issue. People can use it to trade, to move money around countries. It has the issues, insofar as a currency, it has the issues that currencies like the gold standard have. And so if you wanted to adopt it on a much wider scale, you would have all of the problems that we used to have when we had the gold standard, when gold was our primary currency, which is that if you have well, you won't have this with Bitcoins, but if you had a load of gold flood the market, then you have inflation. If gold comes in value, you have deflation. So you have a sort of depression thing built into its use as a currency. So we're very far away from that. But if you wanted to adopt Bitcoin as a currency of a real economy, you would have real problems.
But it's interesting that there are now institutions, Amazon, for example, effectively imitating Bitcoin.
Well, Amazon's an interesting one because their new currency, their coins thing, as I understand it, are linked to dollars, and that is they are tackling the primary issue which you have with trying to get any new currency in. And if you look at, say, local currencies or most sort of online currencies, they are linked to the value of a real currency, just as a country like Zimbabwe, or which wants to kind of restore faith in its currency, will link it to one that people already have faith in. And Bitcoin, by design, you can't do that. It's not linked to the value of anything, so it fluctuates. And
okay.